I'm Charla with Freezer Meals 101. Today I'm going to show you how you can quickly and easily make meals for someone who needs them in a pinch. The meals that we're going to be making today are for a friend of mine. She is a mom of 6, so she's already very busy, and unfortunately right now both of her parents are in the hospital in the ICU. So she is making the hour-and-a-half round trip back and forth to the hospital multiple times a day, as well as trying to parent her kids and keep on top of life. So I feel really badly for her, and I wish there was more that I could do to help. But one thing that I can do is provide some meals for their family, so that it's one less thing that they have to think about during this really difficult time. Now, in an ideal world, if you're making freezer meals for someone as a gift, you know a while ahead of time and you can make out a meal plan that perfectly goes with their family's preferences or allergy requirements or all of those kinds of things and what you know they love. So you can meal plan and then you can go grocery shopping and get the things. Now that works super well if you're making the meals for somebody who's having a baby, or for somebody where you know ahead of time that a family member is going in for surgery or something like that, so you can plan ahead. But let's be real here. A lot of the times when you know someone who needs help and needs meals, it's not a perfect scenario where they've had a lot of time and they've had planning. So you also are not going to get that time to plan. So what I'm going to show you today is how to make meals with what you have in the house already, or just running and grabbing a few things from the store to quickly throw together what you can, because anything that you're able to make for them is going to help and be so appreciated. It doesn't matter if it's not perfect or if it's not exactly right. And I'm going to show you today how I don't have all of the ingredients to make the meals that I would have liked, but we're still going to make it work. And I'm going to be able to provide their family with 4 meals from what we make today. And I also have a chili that's already made in the freezer that I'm going to be giving them. So I'm going to be able to give them 5 freezer meals today, and it's not going to take us very much time. It's mostly with things I already had in the house. So if you are in a circumstance where someone you know is going in the hospital, a family member is going in the hospital, where someone gets sick at home and has a hard time making their own meals, or where they lose a loved one, or any of those kind of circumstances, there's an accident, life happens. And so being able to provide meals for someone is such a kind thing that you can do. And so I just want to show you how you can do this with things that you might already have in your cupboards. Now in my case, I am fortunate because I always have more on hand than maybe the average person, because I'm always thinking about freezer meals. Therefore, I'm looking at the store, and when they have case lot sales of things that I know I often use in my meals, that would be things like diced tomatoes, tomato sauce, tomato paste, beans, different kinds of beans that I get in cans. What else do I often get? Like frozen peas and corn are always in my freezer. I have a lot of pantry items because, again, I look for those sales and buy things on sale because I know I'm going to be using them in freezer meals, and that will save me money in the long run, especially those non-perishables. So I did have more to pull from than maybe the average person would, but I still hope this gives you a really good idea of what you can do for someone in a similar circumstance. So one thing that I did go out and have to get is chicken, and my mom was at Costco, and so she picked up one of these giant chicken thigh things for me. So we're going to be able to get at least 2 meals for their family out of this. That will be great, and that is actually the only thing that I bought extra. I always get the packs of tortellini at Costco. They're a cheese tortellini, and I use them for lots of different freezer meals. I'll stick a video up there with 3 tortellini different recipes that you can make using just this as your main ingredient. So I always just cut those apart and have the packs individually in my freezer. So I had that already, and then everything else I had in my pantry or my fridge. we're gonna throw together a quick soup. Now, soup is something that you probably have the ingredients to invent a soup right now with what you have in your house. So even without getting any kind of meat or going to the store or anything, you probably have something to make some form of soup. So that's a really nice one, and it's so easy for the person on the other end to heat that up, and they can have it as is or they can serve it with buns, but it's not a difficult meal. They can put it in the crock pot or on the stove top. So that's just a really nice one to be able to do. So we're gonna do a soup, we're gonna do 2 different chicken meals, and then we're gonna do a tortellini, and then like I said, I've got the chili in the freezer that I'm giving them. So that's it. Let's quickly get started, and here we go. Let's start with let's do the tortellini so we can get that out of the way and get some of these things moved off and clear this space off. I always like to set things out to make it easier so that I'm not scrounging through the pantry while I'm making things, and so that I know ahead of time if there's any ingredients I'm missing. Today there were ingredients that I was missing, but I'm gonna talk about that when we get there, and we're gonna improvise. If you've been watching my channel for a while, then you've probably seen me make this tortellini before. It's just really good, people enjoy it, and it's so easy to put together, but you can also change it up and make it different ways. So the basic recipe, and I will link all the recipes in the description down below, so you don't need to be frantically writing this down right now, but you're gonna do 2 jars of Alfredo sauce, a cup of shredded mozzarella cheese, a 1/4 cup of Parmesan, which you can put on the top or in a bag to later put on the top, or you can mix it right in, and then your tortellini, but you can add in a cup of something else. So sometimes I do cooked chicken, sometimes sun-dried tomatoes, sometimes a combination of those. Sometimes I do some vegetables. So today you can do artichokes, there's all kinds of things. Today we're gonna do some frozen peas because I had them, and then in my fridge, I sometimes cook bacon for us to have for sandwiches that week. So I've got some strips of cooked bacon. So I'm gonna put the bacon in there. It's very good in there, and so it'll be bacon and peas. Might seem like an odd combination, but it tastes good. And then we'll put the rest of the items in there, and this one will be done. I'm just gonna use my kitchen scissors to cut the bacon really quickly here. And I'm cutting it right directly into the bag. I'm gonna give everything a squish before I add the tortellini, just to make sure everything gets combined there. Now we'll reopen the bag, throw the tortellini in, squish it around one more time, and this one will be done. Now that everything is squished around, I'm opening it one more time because I want to get out all of the air so that it doesn't get freezer burn. Air is that pesky thing that when you're making freezer meals, it can cause your freezer burn. So you have to be careful to get out all of it that you can. And now we have a meal for them that is pretty complete because you've got a bit of a protein in there with the bacon. It's not a lot of protein, but you know, in a pinch, and when you got other things going on in life, we're gonna count it as protein for now. And the cheese is a protein also, the cheese-filled tortellini. And so you've got your carbs with the tortellini, some veggies kinda with the peas. Again, we'll count that in a pinch. Now, because you're giving this away, you're gonna wanna write on it not only the cooking instructions, but you're also going to want to add, like I'm gonna write right on here that there's bacon and peas in here, just in case there's an allergy or preference in their family that I'm not aware of. So you can do a printed label on there, but again, today we're just doing the very minimum we can get away with as quickly as we can so we can actually get these to them, because they don't do them any good if they're sitting still here at my house. So we're just gonna take a permanent marker, write the instructions on there and write what's in here, and then it's gonna get out the door. On to the next. I think we will tackle the soup next. I don't even know what to call this soup because it is like a what I have in my house soup, and hopefully it will taste decent. When we normally do freezer meals, we do all of our prep ahead, but today it's just one of those, we're throwing everything together and we're just doing the best with what we have. So we're just gonna prep the onions right now. I've got this chopper that I love, and I just halved the onions and took the peel off them. And this can go in there. And I was able to find carrots in my fridge, so I cut up some carrots, and those are gonna be great in this soup. And we're going to add a can of white kidney beans and a can of diced tomatoes. Now, I like sausage would go really well in this soup, ground sausage, but I don't have any ground sausage. Spinach would also be really good, but I don't have any spinach. So that's what I mean about today. We're just taking what we have and making the best of it. I am gonna add some garlic in there before I forget. So we're gonna add a bay leaf and some salt and pepper. My aunt made me this blend of herbs from her garden, and it's delicious for especially soups, but you can use it in anything. Basil, chives, dill, lavender, marjoram, mint, oregano, parsley, sage, tarragon, and thyme. Can't really go wrong in a soup with this. So I'm going to add some of this. I drained the beans. You could use kidney beans instead if you wanted. And the nice thing about this soup too is they can add lentils or barley or pasta to it if they want to make it heartier. So it's just kind of a simple start. It's pretty simple, but if they want to add a few things to it, this will make a nice soup, even for lunches or whatever. Here you go. A little trick is to work with one protein at a time and put that into bags and get that prepped so that you only dirty your hands the one time, and then you can wash them in between. You're only dirtying, whatever it is that you're using, cutting boards or whatever, the one time, and then you can get it clean. It's safer, but it also just cuts down on the amount of time because you're not going back and forth as much. So right now, I'm just going to separate out the chicken thigh. Okay, the chicken is officially de-yuckified. It ended up with 11 chicken thighs in one bag and 12 in the other. Actually, it's 12 in that one, 11 in this one. And that's a good size because they are a larger family, so this will be perfect. Now, I wanted to make a chicken cacciatore for one of them because it's a bit of a heartier meal and they can have it on pasta, and that would be all they need to make that night. Unfortunately, I didn't have any zucchini. I didn't have any mushrooms. I didn't even have a can of mushrooms in my pantry. So again, we're just improvising. What I'm gonna do is create kind of an Italian chicken bake instead with some similar flavors to the chicken cacciatore, and then I'm going to add some shredded mozzarella cheese to a medium-sized bag and staple this onto the large bag so they can top it with the mozza cheese when they bake it. And I do think this will be a fairly, it's still gonna be a hearty meal, but it's not gonna be as complete a meal as I would like because it doesn't have very many vegetables other than the tomato sauce that's in it and the onion. But, in a pinch, again, we're just doing the best we can today with what we have. So I'm just gonna show you how you can improvise and how it doesn't always have to be perfect. And if you don't have every ingredient, you can still go ahead and do your best. This will still taste really good, I know that. So in this one, we're gonna put tomato sauce, salt, pepper, garlic, onion, Italian seasoning, and some white wine. So I'm gonna go ahead and chop another onion here with our vegetable chopper, and then we'll get going. The reason I'm adding the non-liquid ingredients first is just to make it easier for the bag to stay upright. But if you want, you can use one of those bag holdery things, or place your bag inside of a juice jug or a Tupperware container. Once we got the chicken prepped, that came together so fast, like 5 minutes at most, including chopping those onions. So this is a super fast one. One tip I'm gonna give you for this one is that because my friend has some girls who are kind of that, preteen age, and they might be doing some of this meal prep while she's busy going, to and from the hospital, I am going to add more instructions than I normally would onto these. So for this one, I'm gonna start by saying remove the staples, because you don't want to end up with staples in the food. And while that might seem obvious to an adult, if you're a little younger, you might not think to, take the staples out and throw them away. You'd obviously pull the bags apart, but if you just pull the bags apart, your staple can end up in your food. So I'm just gonna add very specific instructions to help them in case of her kids helping with those meals. And her girls are such great helpers, so I don't doubt that they are gonna be helping with actually getting these on the table. For this last one, I'm sure it's gonna take me less than a minute to assemble it now that the chicken is ready. And it is just our lemon garlic chicken. I always have the ingredients for this on hand, and I can always throw this together as long as I have the chicken. You can do this with thighs or breasts. Again, I will put the full instructions down below, because you can make this in the slow cooker or in a skillet on the stovetop or in the oven. You barbecue it too if you want, and I'm sure if you know how to use an Instant Pot, it would work in there. So very versatile. It's got that nice fresh flavor because of the lemon, but super fast to put together. We're doing garlic, olive oil, parsley, lemon juice, and pepper. That's it. I just looked at the clock, and very start to very finish, that took us less than half an hour, and we managed to get 4 meals done for my friend. I'm gonna grab the chili out of the freezer, and that'll be 5. So almost a week for their family. I know this will help them out, but mostly the reason I wanted to film what I was doing today is because I wanted to show you that it doesn't have to be perfect. If you're trying to bless someone and gift them with some meals, you can just look through your freezer, your pantry, your fridge, see what you have, do a bit of meal planning, do some substitutions for those items that you're missing. Think outside the box, and whatever you're able to put together for them will be a huge blessing for their family and just take a little bit of stress off them during a really difficult time. Thanks for joining me today, and as always, happy cooking.